It's double game week 32 and my bench boost chip is active. I'm looking to sell Gabriel to another defender to utilise the chip to its maximum potential, but who do I bring in? Well, let's take a look in today's team selection video. As you can see in the top right corner of the screen, the bench boost is active for this game week. This is the chip strategy I've been on for a good few weeks now, and I'm really looking forward to it. Of course, if you're new around here, go ahead and click that subscribe button to get future FPL content and, of course, deadline streams. And, of course, I will be doing a deadline stream for game week 32 on Saturday, so make sure you tune in for that. But let's get straight into the team here. Of course, every single player is going to be utilised within this chip being active. So that includes the bench just above my head, as well as the team I'm going to go through today. So starting off in goal, we have Nick Pope with Manchester United and Crystal Palace at home. 2 home fixtures for Newcastle is a really good opportunity for Nick Pope and the Newcastle defence. Of course, I've got Trippier within my defence as well. A sort of differential pick I went for, but you know, I think it still could really pay off with the amount of threat that Newcastle do have on set pieces, the likes of Dan Burn. Of course, they haven't scored too many set pieces this season, but we've seen what happened in the cup final. Big Dan Burn with that header. So hopefully Trippier can come away with an attack and return or something extra within these 2 fixtures, but pretty happy to have double Newcastle defence going into this double game week. Saliba is in the middle of the park there with Brentford at home. Of course, a really tough match against Real Madrid, but Arsenal really dominated the fixture truly. And, you know, Declan Rice, I have to mention it, what a set of free kicks he scored. Unbelievable. But in terms of Saliba's minutes going into this fixture, I still think this should be pretty strong. I don't expect him to start with on the bench. I expect him maybe to come off later in the fixture if the fixture is said and done. Obviously, it's very game state dependent whether Saliba stays on the pitch or not, because he's such an important part of that Arsenal defence. We have Guardiola there with Crystal Palace at home. It is a bit of a shame that he seems to be tucking into that back 3 centre-back that Pep kind of sets up. Hopefully he has a little bit more licence to get forward in this fixture and kind of punish Palace, but we really don't know how they're going to set up. You know, sometimes they have Mateus Nunes or O'Reilly as the fullbacks and they go into the midfield. But overall, I think Guardiola's a decent pick, and of course he's going to stay in the team for this game week. Henderson on the bench just above my head here. Of course, another goalkeeper with a double game week. That's both of my goalkeepers with 2 fixtures this game week. Of course, the fixtures for Henderson aren't as good as they are for Nick Pope. That's not the reason, obviously, Pope's starting and Henderson isn't. They're both going to be played this week with the bench boost chip, but still, having the 2 game weeks instead of 1's always going to be decent. We have Lewis Dunk there with Leicester at home. Leicester haven't scored a goal in ages. Hopefully Brighton can keep them out, but it's very typical FPL if Brighton do concede. But yeah, I think it's still a good enough fixture to pop the bench boost chip this game week. And of course, Semenyo there with Fulham at home. I still think this is a decent fixture for Semenyo, although he has been a little bit disappointing in recent weeks. His output in terms of FPL points hasn't been great. I benched him for a 6-pointer last game week and played Ismail Assar instead. But hopefully this week he can come away with some attack and returns for me on the bench boost. And of course, Gabriel's sitting on the bench there with a red flag. He is going to be transferred out this game week. You know, I need a full bench to really utilise this chip to its maximum potential. So we'll have a little look at options towards the end of the video. But as I mentioned in my transfer plans section, my transfer plans video, earlier in the week, Connor Bradley was quite high on my list as sort of a differential option in that Liverpool defence. It is a very risky pick, but it is within my head still to maybe do that transfer. And of course, Milenkovic or Nico Williams of Nottingham Forest, I think is a much safer bet for the next few weeks in terms of expected minutes. So yeah, that's that kind of section covered there. And also my Gabriel replacement just thrown out in the air there to think about. But let's move on now to the midfielders. Now, no FPL midfield is complete without Mo Salah. Yes, he hasn't been great as of recent in terms of FPL points, but the season he's had and just how good Liverpool are, there is no reason to be looking to sell Mohamed Salah, especially when you consider the players you could move to, like Bukayo Saka, Cole Palmer, have had some minute issues within the Premier League. Eze as well within this team, the double game week fixture of Manchester City and Newcastle away. He has done pretty well recently. These are hard fixtures for him, but maybe he comes away with something. Obviously, Ismail Assar in the midfield as well with that double game week fixture. So fingers crossed Palace can do something against the likes of City and Newcastle. But of course, I do have those players within my defence. So who knows which way I want it to go, but yeah, it should be pretty decent having a double game week on both these amazing players. And of course, a single game week for Cole Palmer, but a very good one in Ipswich at home. He came off sort of midway through his Europa Conference League fixture. Hopefully that's to save his legs for the Premier League, because Chelsea really are aiming to get a Champions League spot. They're contending with people like Manchester City and Newcastle at the moment, so picking up 3 points here is definitely needed against a very weaker side. But yeah, overall midfield super strong, double game weeks and some single game weeks which are really good as well. Of course, Mo Salah with West Ham at home, as I forgot to mention, is a very good fixture for him. Of course, not a captaincy option this week with just a single game week, but we'll get on to the captaincy pick in the next section of the video where I'm going to look at my forwards for the game week. Now, it's no surprise that I've got Isak captained this game week. A lot of people are going to be using their triple captainship this game week, so it could be the case that Isak actually doesn't earn me any rank this week if he is over 200% effective ownership, but I think he should be just about under, with a lot of people using their assistant manager as well as their bench boost chips this game week. You have Evan Nielsen just next to him, who has been amazing for me recently. He's really shot me back up into the top sort of 330,000 players in the world, so really happy I went with him instead of Mateta. Of course, we spoke about that when I did make that decision to go with Ismail Assar instead. Of course, Sarr hasn't got too many FPL points, but Evan Nielsen instead of Mateta has been really good in the terms of expected minutes and, of course, FPL points, which is the main thing you want from a player. Marmoush, of course, is Haaland's replacement for City. Very technical player, very, very good player. I really enjoy watching him. Maybe he comes away with something in this fiction. I would quite like it if he did score against Crystal Palace to kind of make Munoz's ownership really suffer, because look, I don't have Munoz within my wildcard 30 team, and of course I still don't have him now, so it would be really good to kind of help my rank if Marmoush scored within this fixture. But that is the bench boost team for double game week 32. Of course, Gabriel, we spoke about it at the start of the video. The likes of Connor Bradley, maybe even Konate. But I do like the differential aspect of Connor Bradley and this slightly more attack and output. And then, of course, I could go safe and play a Forest defender like Nico Williams or Milenkovic as well. Both would work. It's just really who I prefer at what price point. But overall, I think it's a really good team. Maybe we can break into 100 points for the game week with the bench boost chip active. Fingers crossed everything goes well and everyone is fit and ready to go. Of course, maybe some question marks on the likes of Palmer with coming off a bit earlier in the Premier League and, of course, early within the Conference League fixture. Isak had that small knock, but it seems he's okay at full fitness now. But yeah, that is the team, and fingers crossed we can do well this game week. A massive thank you if you're watching to this point of the video. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, go ahead and click that like button, and if you aren't yet subscribed to the channel, click the sub button as well for future FPL content and deadline streams. But that is everything for today's video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.